Sex and the City is a show created in the late 90s and early 2000s that follows four friends, Miranda, Charlotte, Samantha, and of course Carrie. The show follows the women in their 30s juggling friendship, relationships, and careers all at once, with Carrie being the main character. Inserting my awkward intro here. Hi everyone, the world is so crazy, so dark, so step into my universe, the fashion verse, where we dive into everything that I love, which is mostly fashion, but can be literally anything and has been literally anything lately. So today it's just gonna be Sex and the City. Now, despite the title of this video, there is a reason this show was so big. It broke barriers for its time. There were not a lot of women talking about their sexuality openly, especially older women in their 30s. And despite all the things that people have criticized, including me, about the show and how some of its takes did not age well, really did not age well, like Carrie telling Miranda she thought she made a stupid decision in leaving Steve when he literally cheated on her because she was working so hard to afford the house he wanted with a child he asked for. I'm still not over that because I was crazy as hell. But it shows that these women can have it all. That women in general can have it all. They can have a man, a job, and the friends as long as she fights for it. Now, do I really think that the show kind of interprets it well? Sometimes no, at least looking at like Miranda and Carrie, because I'm sorry, those two ended up with like the worst men. Like the worst men out of all of them. And I think it really has a lot to do with their character, but that's not the point of this video. I think Charlotte and Samantha knew their worth enough not to take anything from a trifling man. Like, they were not taking any seconds this man was giving. And the same cannot be said for both Carrie, who was in a 10-year-long battle with a man who literally did not want her, just ended up settling for her. No, actually, I think we're going to talk about it a little bit. I know I said I wasn't, but let's be real. He literally 10 years did a will they, won't they, dangling the wedding carrot, like I said, playing in her face, literally getting married to somebody else because he wanted to do better than Carrie. And then when he realized he couldn't, he just settled with her when he was like, I'm getting old. I need somebody to take care of me. And it was Carrie. Carrie was the only one who stayed. And Miranda, she literally ended up with a homosexual loser who wanted to have a child but didn't do any of the work when it came time to it. Like, God, they really could not. They did a bad job, guys, with their relationships, but whatever. I also think that this show is so popular because it applies nearly 30 years later. Like, I'm not the age of the women in this show. I'm not in my 30s. I didn't live in the 90s and the early 2000s, but I can relate to a lot of what they say and a lot of conversations that they've had, especially about horrible men and like them having insecurities. That is for sure something I can relate to, and having to ditch them to the curb. But with that being said, I do think that SATC is so glamorized to the point that it's crazy. Okay, like, I live near New York City, and so many people, when they hear me say this, are like, oh, you're going to live out your best Sex and the City life, or I can't wait to come to New York because I want to live my best Sex and the City life. And I'm not gonna lie, sometimes when I hear this, I cringe, because what do you mean? Sex and the City, although has a lot of relatable themes in it, like I said, that can be applied even today, I think people forget how much their lives are not the same as it is now. Like, we are not living the same lives as these girls. And one example being Carrie's house. Carrie literally lived in an apartment in the West Village, and the iconic brownstone was going for only $40,000 at that time. And we know this because Aiden was literally asking for the $40,000 price when he bought it to start a family with Carrie, which ended down the drain when she cheated on him and basically said, I want Mr. Big, for reasons I don't understand, but she did. And he later said, you can give me the $40,000 or I'm selling it to somebody else. And when I tell you $40,000, I mean, maybe he's lowballing Carrie, but $40,000 is still so cheap for a house, period. But a brownstone at that in the West Village, that is unheard of. And that's just, we'll never get that again. We'll never live in a society like that. Even if housing rates go down, we will never have an apartment or anything of that nature at that price anymore. But in 2026, a lot of houses in the West Village, brownstones to be specific, like Carrie, are heavily polluted with white people coming to New York City for a temporary amount of time to live out their individualistic lifestyle while being pretty much the same as each other. Miranda did a great video on the West Village girl ruining NYC, and I'll try to link it down below so you guys can definitely go check it out. But essentially, Carrie's house would be at least $3 million, at least. And that's assuming you would have to you would get the house at a fair price where you would have to fix it up and just basically gut it. Like, $3 million is very lucky for a brownstone in the West Village now, which is insane, because we know that Carrie was struggling to pay her rent while also having an enormous and expensive clothing and shoe collection, and still having enough money to go on vacation on to go out every weekend on a writer's salary. That's insane. Yeah, no one can live off of a writer's salary anymore, or very few people can, unless you're freelancing it. Which leads to my other point in the glamorization of financial struggle in that show. Though we see Carrie talk about her massive credit card debt and struggling to pay her house, and even getting to the point where she's begging her friends to give her money, like when she begged Charlotte to give her $40,000 to pay off her apartment from Aiden because she had money from the engagement, from the wedding ring that she could sell after she got divorced from Trevor, sorry. And that was insane to me. What do you mean you feel obligated to have your friends' money? That's not okay. What? That's not your money. Come on, Carrie. Whatever. Anyway, in this day and age, people are struggling between the economy being bad, unlawful tariffs on products, and just overall finding it hard to find jobs. People are struggling, but not in a cute, oh, I could still scrounge up some money to pay my rent while getting these Jimmy Choo shoes. No, they're struggling in a, oh, I have to choose between insulin or dinner tonight or buying groceries. Oh, struggling in a non-aesthetic way. It's not cute how poor people are, because they still can't afford, at the end of the day, the most high-end expensive things. Times were different for Carrie. The 90s seemed like a better livable wage at the time. I feel like anyone could live off, or a lot of people can live off a wage in the 90s. People used to talk about living off of a $50,000 salary and that being the best thing in the world. You were making great money with $50,000. I mean, but maybe I'm just glamorizing it as well. Maybe I'm also the problem. I wasn't born in the 90s. I wasn't there. But I also do think that even the city is glamorized. There are points in the show when I see Carrie wearing heels in the winter, and I just question how? And I don't mean she's wearing heels. I mean, how is she wearing heels in the extreme freezing or in the snow? Y'all, we just had 10 inches of snow or whatever here, and everything is shoveled technically, but it's still so bad. I literally am wearing snow boots and I'm still falling all the time in the snow. How is she doing that? And also another thing, if you're even just walking by the curb, your feet are gonna get plastered with slushies. How are you even doing that? But I guess she's making it work, and I just don't understand how, because no one cleans the street. That's not something they tell you in Sex and the City. No one cleans the streets in New York. So if you're planning to come to New York when it snows in the winter, bring your snow boots, because you will slip and fall on your ass. That's why I don't understand how Carrie's doing it. So yeah, the city is not the same, is what I'm trying to basically say. The West Village is also a huge indicator of the city not being the same. Like, the West Village was once an area where a lot of LGBT communities and artists and those who were marginalized in societies that didn't fit any mold would stay and live. But now the West Village is kind of a joke. Like, it's so overly priced. Like, it has so many overly priced apartments filled with white people and watered down coffee. The life Carrie lives just isn't the same and does not exist in 2026. Even the cigarettes Carrie smokes are not the same. Carrie smokes massive amounts of cigarettes throughout the show. We see her even try to quit for Aiden, but starts up again eventually. We do know that later she ultimately permanently quit smoking, but smoking symbolizes glamorization and chicness of Carrie's character. It's no secret cigarettes are bad for you. There are tons of studies and statistics on the health issues smoking causes that were even big in the 90s. According to the CDC, in 1998, people below the poverty line smoked more than people above it. And I think that's really why Carrie smoking was really prevalent throughout the show. Carrie smoking and ultimately Carrie represented the struggling artist stereotype of not having a lot of money, woe is me, this loneliness, I don't care if I make it to tomorrow, rebellious type. We know with the way Carrie lives, she prefers a lifestyle of indulging in instant gratification that's short term. She often partakes in self-destructive activities like having an affair with Mr. Big, or even just being with him, period. I mean, that guy treated her horribly, and she stayed with him. Cheating on Aiden. The list just really goes on with Carrie. It was obvious Carrie did not think of her health, both mentally and physically, long term, and cigarettes was just one example. I also think cigarettes show how much she thought of herself to be the main character that she is. By that point in the 90s, late 90s, when Sex and the City was airing, there were designated smoking sections, but we would often see Carrie bust out smoking a cigarette literally anywhere. And I think one of the reasons she did this was because she thought she was above the rules and that they simply didn't apply to her. It's almost as if Carrie was really cognizant of the fact of her being the main character of a fictional story, because she really smoked in places that she really should not have, with no care of others and their health, which applies to so many other things that Carrie does. Like when she confronts Natasha after having an affair with Natasha's ex, aka Mr. Big, and looks for forgiveness, and thankfully Natasha does not give it to her because she had no right to ruin her lunch and hurt her teeth. And we also even find out later that she still stalks Natasha nearly 20 years after the affair and her being married with Mr. Big, and just like that, which is so bad. Like, what? So yeah, Carrie is a messed up person. I know another reason the show is big, pun not intended, because of the fashion. Sex and the City presents 90s fashion, and not just period pieces of what we think 90s fashion looks like. It's true 90s fashion in early 2000s because it was made then. Plenty of people get fashion inspo from the show, and it has become synonymous with 2000s fashion, but I think the fashion is heavily glamorized. Don't get me wrong, some of the ladies live on my Pinterest board. Like, don't get me wrong, some of their outfits live in my Pinterest board and I come to inspo for them. But I think people put too much of an emphasis on the fashion. Chanel, Prada, Jimmy Choo, and so many more known fashion brands are heavily romanticized in the show. And without going into the lore and history of all of these brands, they definitely do have a problematic history. And I'm not judging anyone who owns any of these brands. I actually have a couple of pieces from them. But I think the show promotes a lot of overconsumption of clothes, particularly high-end clothes that you don't need. I mean, look at Carrie. I think she said that her monthly shoe budget is $40,000, which is insane. Like, I know there's no way she could wear all that stuff. I mean, if we're talking hypothetically, if she buys 4 shoes, which is 10K a shoe, which is insane for Carrie, and her, like the fact that she doesn't, like, she's probably making a good amount of money, because if she was budgeting her money right, she could definitely live, but absolutely insane to be spending on a shoe budget alone. But if we're saying that she's paying 10K per shoe, 4 shoes a month, there's no way she can get through all of those shoes by the end of the month. Like, I mean, hypothetically, yes, she could wear all 4 pairs in a month, but there's no way she's cycling through, because 4 pairs a month, that's 48 pairs a year. That's $480,000 a year. Who's doing all of that? Apparently Carrie. And I also think the show, even though it does show a lot of 90s and early 2000s glamour, it's not representative of all classes and cultures. And I understand, like, that's to show it's about rich 30-somethings living in New York, but it is truly not what the 90s and 2000s were. Like, I mean, come on. How is it that they live in one of the most diverse cities in the world, but we've only ever seen a handful of black people? I'm never going to get over that. That's insane. Like, that's absolutely crazy. And they were all just, like, token black people that were used to help fuel a plot. And I know Sex in the City reboot, just like that, tried to, like, overcorrect for it a little bit too much, in my opinion. But it does feel as though, like, are you really not showing any other cultures and classes and any of that? Like, it's just a bunch of white people that are rich in their 30s and have money to spend. Insane. Another thing that is truly glamorized and has really affected a lot of people who've watched the show is individuality. A lot of people suffer from main character syndrome after watching Sex and the City, and just, like, in general. Carrie is a main character in a fictional show. You are not. Carrie did a lot of main character things that pissed me off, like judging Samantha for sleeping around, but being hung up on the most toxic and aloof guy for 10 years. Like, I've never forgotten that she literally kicked Samantha out of the bath in a hotel room to get laid after Samantha willingly took the train to a book event with Carrie. Never forget that. I hated Carrie for that. I mean, if I talked about my man to my friends, and the man in question was somebody who told me I wasn't the marrying type despite me wanting to get married, meaning he doesn't see himself ever getting married with me. He moved to Paris without giving me a say, even though we're supposed to be in a healthy relationship. He was married and had an affair and called me and I was the mistress. Yeah, no. And that's only a little bit of the things that Big and Carrie had. Yeah, no. My friends would pity me, look at me like I'm crazy, and tell me I have no respect for myself, which Carrie did not, and not allow me to talk about him any further. And you know what? I really don't blame them, because if any of my friends were going through any situation like that, I would absolutely tell them the same thing, because who, what, when, where, why? Why would you stay with this man? Carrie got away with the way she acted because she was a fictional main character being written about. You are not Carrie. You are not the main character. And in a world does not revolve around you. We are not NPCs just here to react to whatever you're doing. Everyone here has their own problems, their own business, and will not always agree with what you're saying. And don't get me wrong, everyone struggles with main character syndrome, even just a little bit. Like, that is just natural being a person. We constantly think it's about us, even when it's not. But that doesn't give us the right to treat people that we know like strangers and side characters that are only here to respond. And another thing, this show is just so unrealistic. Like I said before, you're telling me in the most diverse city in the world there's only ever white people? Like, throughout the show, we see them with a few people of color, or a few friends of color. But throughout the entire 6-season run of the show, we do only meet a handful of people of color. Like, randomly, they would come out and talk of sorts of different races. But that is just insane. One of the beauties of NYC is just meeting random people of different backgrounds and diversities. I know sometimes you can end up creating a homogenous friend group that looks just like you because that's what you're comfortable with. Like, I've met people with mostly white friends that still interact with a lot of people of color because it's New York, a diverse city. Like, even me, when I meet people all the time going through New York, they're never the same. It's very beautiful in that sense that you will meet somebody of different races and cultures and just everyone you could possibly think of. Looking past the name, the point of Sex and the City is to look at Carrie and her friends grappling life, happiness, relationships, and careers. The premise of the show would work even if they were not in New York. One example is Desperate Housewives. Desperate Housewives presents 4 friends juggling family, love, and careers. While there's so much more that happens in the show, it essentially has the same themes of Sex and the City, and it takes place in the suburban neighborhood with purposely no ties to a state in the US. The idea of women going through life and figuring out what works and what does not is interesting no matter where. So why do we always put an emphasis on it when we're thinking of New York? You don't have to come to New York to live your best Sex and the City lifestyle. You just need the right attitude, dating candidates, and a good group of friends to help you through it. So the next time you say, I want to live my best Sex and the City life, remember that it's inside of you. So that's all I have today. Make sure to like, subscribe. I hope you enjoyed. XOXO, more to come. Bye!